Hello and welcome to the transformation guide on the SS8607 Slug here. So we can jump straight into this. We can remove his blaster, and you can take both fists and spin them around and then just pop them down. These arms will become the dinosaur legs, so you can kind of just bring them straight out like this for now. This whole section back here, it kind of just holds together with friction. So what you can kind of do is just grab his tail here and just kind of pull this whole section loose. There's like multiple joints back here. Kind of just want to loosen that up, and then you can spin him all the way around at the waist. Now down here at his feet, you want to pull his feet out with the ankle rocker joints, and then there's this section here that you kind of just open up. Kind of pull this down to give you some clearance here. Spin this around. Bring his foot back up and close this back up. Do that on both sides. Pull that out. Close that down and pop that back in. Now you can kind of, all at the same time, there's a hinge here, and then the waist hinge. You kind of want to collapse them all as far as you can get them until they're kind of, let's get that one more. There we go. Until they're in about that configuration. There are little tabs. I'll show you on this foot here. This tab here will actually end up fitting into this slot right here. So you can kind of just get that in there. That might come undone when you do this section here, because these tabs go into here. And I'll show you that when we get there. So you kind of just, I like to bend at this joint first, and then move the hip up, and then bend at this joint, kind of like that, and just peg it in down there. Now you come up here and pull this chest plate out. You can then push his whole head down, and that'll kind of pop into place and grab this whole section. Pull this whole section up and just bring it up to the face here. The face can move slightly. You kind of want to bring it up. And then there are two hinges right up here that you kind of want to finagle until it's in here. You can move this white plate up until it's in right there. So move that white plate up and use, it's these two hinges right up here. Just scoot them like so. And that'll line up all these pieces here. And now there are some stress marks building on mine in there. Not too worried about it. They don't really seem to actually be what holds this piece together. It kind of seems like these pieces are. So I'm not too worried about it. But just be aware that that is something going on my copy. And I've had this thing for like a week now. So you can kind of straighten his arms. You can then kind of pull the dinosaur head down while popping these into place. And then if you want, you can open his mouth. So at this point, I like to come back here and finish this section up. This piece here, I feel like it's supposed to pop past here and like line up flush. But this little tab is so strong and so just stiff that I can't seem to get it to pop up without fully popping this piece off. And at the same time, it doesn't seem to all hold together as well when I do that. So if you want to pop that down, go for it. I'm going to leave it up like this, just line it up right there, because mine seems to actually hold together better when I don't pop that down. But you can kind of spread his legs here, and these parts will come undone. You just have to redo them. Now these little tabs on either side here will go into these holes on either side here. And at the same time, these red nubs will go inside of these like gold rectangles here. And at the same time, these two slots will be kind of grabbing onto these two nubs. So there's kind of a lot going on in this section. This was the toughest section for me the first time doing the transformation. I kind of like to tab that down right there first, and then kind of just get that over the nubs, and then kind of finagle these pieces into those tabs in here. And it's kind of hard to see, but right there's that one, and right there's that one. Squeeze those together. Now come down here and realign these tabs like so. Kind of smush that down onto there. And then back here, these gold nubs on the bottom of the tail will go inside of the feet pieces like that. And that is the part that I have the most issues with. When I tab this down in to where it looks flush right there, it will not grab onto his feet. When I don't clip that down, it's rock solid. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to go down or not. I don't, though. But coming up here to these side panels, this square here will grab onto this red nub. And you kind of got to stretch it a tiny bit to get it to actually clip down there. Like so, on both sides. Holds very securely once you get it. And then you can pull this section out and pull his little foot out. Right there. On both sides. And one of the coolest parts of this is you actually now take his gun, and that hole right there, you just put the grip of the gun into that hole, and that finishes the tail for you. And just make sure everything holds together, and you are done. There he is in his really cool G1 Triceratops mode. And going back to robot mode is actually a bit easier. This whole like spine tail section is just as kind of a pain, but you can go ahead and get started by removing his gun, just setting it off to the side. You can then fold the feet back in, and this little nub here will kind of catch right there. You just kind of pop it past it and fold it in on both sides. So here, what I like to do is just grab the tail and the foot and just kind of pull them apart. And then you can grab the two legs and just kind of pull them away like this, and that'll unhook this whole section here. You can then pull these side panels out, and that will free up this whole section. Just untab it up there, and this whole section will come off. Now you can fold it up like this just to get it out of the way. You can then rotate this whole waist piece around and just straighten his legs at that joint and at that joint and at the waist. Right there. Or hips, I guess. Now down here, stay up there. Down here, you want to use the ankle rocker joints again. Just unhook them on both sides. And then stay. Undo that tab there. You kind of want to spin this a little bit. Actually, no, you want to spin it forward like that. Spin this around, and then you can push that up. Hook this back down and bring the feet back up. I like to kind of don't fully pop them into place just for posing. So bring that up. Bring this to the front. Spin this around. Then push it back up. Pop that down. Personally, I like to give him just like one click in the legs here. Just like that. And this side's ratchet joints going up on my copy don't really seem to work as well. I'm not sure if that's just an issue with mine. But that is the legs done. You can then unhook this whole chest piece here and push his mouth in. Now up here you want to use these double hinges again and just pull the shoulders out and push that white section down. Bring the arm down on both sides here. Push that down, bring that out, bring that down. You can then pull his hands out and flip them around. Just push right there and then pull it out. Get a better angle at that. There we go. Spin his hands around. So now for this part, you kind of want to pull these out. You don't have to pull them like all the way out, but just make sure there's enough clearance. You can then take his whole mouth section with his head, bring it down into here, and holding this down, you can pop his head out. You want to make sure that the dinosaur head stays up like this. And then you can bring these sections back in, pop them back, get them to line up with this part here. And then you can bring this piece up, just fasten that right there. And then you can pop his head down. It'll kind of pop into these little slots right there. There we go. So now this whole section back here is kind of a pain. So if you see, there's multiple little hinges here. This piece here is on a hinge here and here, but it has the spike. And that spike, I'm actually going to pop this door off just so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. That spike is supposed to rest behind this section. So you can kind of give it some bend right here. Push this section up, and this will actually, these gaps here will grab onto these white nubs now. But you want to push that up and then get this section up and around that. It is not the easiest thing to do in the world, but once you get it, it will lock rather securely. There we go. So use this joint here and push this back, and then you can kind of go up. And this little round gap right there will actually grab on to this section right here. And that's what locks this whole piece together, is once you have that little spike behind this plate and that round section grabs on the inside of there, it actually fits rather securely. Kind of just gotta finagle it until it works. But at the same time, you want it to grab on the dinosaur head. So you kind of, something like that. Sometimes, I don't know if that's supposed to, is it just supposed to be like that? Yeah, okay, there we go. Yep, so you just make a grab onto the dinosaur head, make sure that spike is behind that piece, and that piece connects to the back there. And then the tail just kind of goes up like this. It doesn't really grab onto anything. And this here kind of grabs onto this, but not a whole lot. And see that piece doesn't want to... I find this to actually be a lot more secure, which is just kind of repositioning it a tiny bit, but that doesn't want to hold. See, this part is the hardest part. Sure. Close enough. And then just pop this back on. You don't have to pop this piece off. I just did that to show you that whole inside section there I was having some troubles with. And you can position this however you want. And that is it for Slug. He's a very cool looking figure. Very good addition to the collection if you're trying to get all the Dinobots. But that's it for transformation. So I hope you enjoyed that guide. I hope you leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and stick around for the next video. Have a good night.